Hey guys, we're gonna get started in just a couple of minutes. Okay, I think we can just get started. Hi everyone, how's everyone doing? Welcome to our session of Live with Smartphone. This is your weekly space to ask questions, share wins, and discover workflows that help your business grow. I'm Cesar, Integration Manager here at Smartphone, and I'll be your host today. And joining me are Vladi from Sales, Valentina, our Affiliate Manager, Cosmin and Andre from our support team, and Grace, our social media expert. Thank you for being here. We're really excited for today's session. And if you're joining us in Zoom, you can drop your questions in the chat or simply raise your hand if you'd like to speak with us directly. And if you'd like to get the recording of this meeting and automatic reminders for future sessions, you only need to register once, and we'll post a link for the future sessions on our channels and here on this chat. Every week, we go live for 30 minutes to connect with you, our clients, prospects, and industry friends. And this is your time to ask questions about the product and its functionality, see how others are using smartphone in their workflow, and share feedback that helps shape where we go next. And our goal is to help you scale smarter 1 week at a time. Our format is simple. We'll kick off with a quick highlight, a feature or an important update that we think will help you get more out of smartphone. And then we'll open the floor to your questions live right here. Before we bring Vladi on, I want to take a moment to talk about compliance and protecting your phone numbers, because this is what keeps your calls and messages actually reaching people. On the voice side, the key piece is stir shaken, which is a system carriers use to verify that calls really come from the number they claim to, helping reduce spoofing and improving trust in your caller ID. For messaging, especially if you're sending business texts in the US, A2P 10DLC registration is just as important. It basically tells carriers who you are, what kind of messages you're sending, and that your recipients have opted in. And that transparency improves deliverability and helps your messages stay compliant. Or carriers also monitor behavior, things like call duration, answer rates, and traffic patterns. And this is where consistency matters. You should avoid sudden spikes in volume, keep a steady pacing, and don't overload one number. And of course, maintain clean, organized batches of phone numbers and use recognizable caller IDs so people know it's you. With that quick overview, I'll hand it over to Vladi, who's going to show you how to stay compliant, protect your numbers, and keep your calls and texts performing at their best. Vladi, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Cesar. Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining today's live session. Exactly as Cesar mentioned previously, compliance is very, very important, and it allows you to gain trust scores with the carriers. That's how it's called. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. I believe it is visible, right?
Yep, we see it.
Perfect. So I started the screen sharing on our Trust Center. So this is our compliance portal built into the platform. It is on the left side menu here. And as you can see at the top, it tells us that the identity and business verification were both approved. Basically, these are the two initial steps that you go through when you want to become compliant on our platform. The identity verification is very, very straightforward. You just need to take the time and provide a couple of pictures of your ID and a selfie so we can associate a real human being and the person to the account. And then secondly, the business verification requires you to fill in a form designed to inform the carriers who you are and what you do. And this is how they associate your business to your account. So they provide you with the protocol that Cesar mentioned called Stutter Shaken, which is designed to certify your caller IDs and make them more trustworthy. Because by default and in essence, everyone could use VoIP phone systems. Everyone could log in on a platform similar to smartphone and buy a couple of numbers and start calling or texting out. And they could be scammers. They could be simply doing spam. So to make sure, so for the carriers to make sure that you are not doing any type of activity as that, they want you to provide the information based that you have with your business. And this refers to the full name, DBA, if you have any display name, the business type, industry, and registration ID type, which is usually an EIN or it could be a DUNS, and then the actual EIN, your website, address, and an authorized representative's information. Basically, the position and business title, the email address, full name, and phone number. Once you've submitted this information, after about 3 days at maximum, the Stutter Shaken will become available on your account. It automatically enrolls, the system automatically enrolls all your current and future numbers. So all numbers that you have on the account at that time will be enrolled, and then new ones that you port in from different systems or buy will be certified automatically. This, as you can see, helps you in building carrier trust and increasing consumer response rates while lowering the risk of being marked as spam. So right now I'm explaining and giving you some guidelines on what you can do on the back end when it comes to verifications and registrations. And then we will also discuss how you can proactively monitor the activity of your phone numbers to make sure you don't overload the one caller ID with a lot of call volume and some other metrics that the carriers look at, as Cesar mentioned before. Besides the Stutter Shaken for voice calls, you also have the CNAM registration, which is a free service provided by smartphone, just like the Stutter Shaken or business verification is, which essentially allows you to brand your phone numbers, let's say, or assign a caller ID display name. So this allows you to create a name that includes up to 15 characters to personalize the caller ID experience, and it should and most likely will be displayed alongside your caller ID when you call outbound. However, we cannot guarantee this. As you can see, there is a disclaimer here that informs you this because the system will send the information to your context carrier when you place a call, but it cannot be guaranteed that it will be displayed because ultimately the carriers decide what parts of the call information are shown depending on the plans they maintain with their customers. Nevertheless, we do encourage everyone to take advantage of these features, to look into them and create the CNAM, get approved with the business brand. That's actually a requirement by FCC, so it's not really skippable. On the other hand, CNAM and A2P are optional. CNAM for calling and A2P for texting. When it comes to A2P, this is a regulation that was actually put in place by the major carriers with the purpose of minimizing spam that's going on through SMS messages. And this essentially requires you to provide the opt-in and consent management that you have from your contacts, because the carriers want to make sure that you don't do cold texting, so to say, and that you text only contacts that have opted in, either by calling you first or texting you first. That's considered an EBR, an established or existing business relationship, which allows you to then contact them either via text or calls 90 days after any inbound communication. Of course, if you want a full, let's say, history of communications, we recommend using a CRM, possibly and preferably one that's connected to smartphone for maximum value. And once you have an EBR or a website where you have a web form that they opt in on, you will essentially obtain consent, which allows you to text outbound. And through an A2P campaign, you just provide these details to your carriers, to our carriers. Sorry, initially you'll need to describe your campaign, what purpose you'll have with the text messages. Then this is for opt-in and consent management. You'll need to provide a couple of pictures of your ID, a couple of links to your privacy policy and terms and conditions. And then lastly, you'll also need to provide 2 to 3 samples of your SMS messages or examples. Once you do this, in about 3 to 5 business days, depending on the volume of submissions, the carriers will approve your campaign, and then you enroll your numbers under it, and that's pretty much it. Once you have the identity, business verification in place, A2P and CNAM, when it comes to our trust center, you are fully verified, let's say. You are 100% approved and registered. However, we do have an article called "My Number Has Been Marked as Spam" into our documentation section, which has a couple of links: Free Caller Registry and First Orion. They are both free databases and cover the largest mobile carrier in the US. And as you can see how it works, you just register the information and it's sent to the call protection providers that support the major carriers. And each provider then follows up directly with the business. So you simply enroll your phone numbers, your business details, just as you did with the trust center with the business brand or business verification. And then that will provide you with another additional layer of protection. So once again, both of these are free. We highly advise everybody to take advantage of them. They are basically a database that the carriers look at when they look at phone numbers, when they analyze whether or not they are spam. And this, of course, helps you in preventing any flag or tag as spam for your caller IDs. With that being said, these are the things that you can take advantage of and take care of on the back end. So you register everywhere, you provide the carriers with as many details as you can. You make sure to make your business known in this industry, let's say, and throughout the telecom carriers, just so they can basically acknowledge the fact that you are a real business and that you are using specific and certain caller IDs, which are the smartphone ones, of course. Once you have everything in place on the back end, you can then monitor your phone numbers and manage the batches of caller IDs that you used to prevent the spam, the getting flagged as spam even more. And this refers to, I want to read something really quick. As you can see, each provider uses a proprietary private algorithm to automatically assign a spam designation. So that's dynamic, that's flexible, similar to how the Google algorithm works. The scoring is dynamic and depends on many factors. However, the scoring systems used are completely decentralized. This means it can change literally from one phone call to the next or from one carrier to another. And while the algorithms are not published publicly, we know some of the variables that factor in. And this includes call volume. So here, this is a metric that looks at the total amount of calls that have been performed from a caller ID. So as Cesar mentioned, we want to keep it constant. We don't want to overload specific caller IDs. We want to keep it evenly distributed throughout our numbers, as well as consistent. On a day-to-day basis, if you're doing 50 calls, that's a good amount. You can stick to that. If you have a spike to 100 calls, that may already be looked into by the carriers. Besides that, the short call duration is also a metric that they look at, and this is a percentage, which if exceeds 15% of your total outbound calls is considered unhealthy, and that is because it looks at the amount of calls under 6 seconds, which means that usually means that they are unwanted or non-consented calls because the content picks up, you introduce yourself, and then they hang up. Same thing will be, a similar thing will be a log or average length of calls, which looks at the amount of time that you spend on your calls out of the total calls. And this is considered unhealthy if it's below 30 seconds, because again, it means that you spend shortest amount of time on calls, which means that they are most likely unconsented or not wanted. And then the answer seizure ratio is also relevant, which takes me to mentioning and highlighting the fact that having good lists of leads is very important when it comes to doing business in the real estate or communications industry, because we want the numbers to be as real and as probable to answer as possible. Because again, the carriers look at the answer seizure ratio, which is considered unhealthy under 30%. So if out of 10 calls, just 2 were picked up, that's a little bit bad, let's say. And then besides that, of course, the DNC or do not call regulations are very important as well. So when you buy a list, if you do real estate cold calling, for example, when you buy a list, we highly advise you to scrub it against the national DNC list just to make sure that you are not calling out numbers that have been registered there, because that is quite bad. It could take you to court. So we want to take care of the DNC numbers, to take them out of our list, and then focus on the ones that are not flagged or marked as do not call. With that being said, that's pretty much what I wanted to mention when it comes to proactively looking at certain metrics for your phone numbers. Now I would like to highlight the importance of managing your phone numbers and keeping them apart from other types of numbers, just so you can be as protected as possible. So to recap, when you create a smartphone account, you go to the Trust Center, you go to the documentation section, you register your numbers everywhere, you take care of those back-end registrations. Then you buy numbers that you manage and that you, let's say, organize into batches or brackets. And then based on the numbers that you have, you look at certain metrics to make sure that you are consistent and that you have good values. For example, we have a marketing team number, we have a website phone number, which are both considered inbound phone numbers or caller IDs. We essentially attach them on our marketing campaigns, website, Facebook ads, direct mail, things like that. And this allows the contacts to call them whenever they see us. And this means that they are supposed to be kept mostly for inbound purposes. So we're not going to be utilizing them to call outbound, either for follow-ups or nurture or cold calling. For cold calling, we have a number right here. And then we have the personal ones of our agents as well. And these numbers are supposed to be rotated, so they can be cycled out if you're using Smart Dialer, for example, to reduce the amount of calls that you have on them in total. Nevertheless, they will always be subject to higher risk of being flagged as spam than the numbers that you keep for inbound or than the numbers that you keep for transactional purposes. The transactional numbers are the numbers that you have your contacts saving to their address book and that you don't use for a lot of outbound calls. Let's say you do 10, 20, up to 30 calls a day from them just to follow up and nurture with your contacts and ultimately close deals from them. And this is also supposed to be used less than the cold calling numbers for outbound, just to be safer and just to have them more protected. And so a good process would be to call somebody, if you're doing cold calling, would be to call somebody on Smart Dialer, for example, with the cold calling numbers. And when they answer and qualify, to provide them the transactional phone numbers so they can save it in their address book for later on follow-ups via calls or texts, which ultimately will also be the number used to sign the contract and close the deal. So once again, you register everything on the back end, you buy numbers, organize them, and then lastly, you will not necessarily need to, but it's highly advised to look at these metrics and make sure they are in healthy, let's say, frames. This is what I wanted to provide you guys with. This is what I had prepared for you. We are, of course, open to any questions, and I'm going to go ahead and take this article and drop it into our chat just so you can look at it later on in case you want to explore it. And yeah, I thank you very much for your attention, and we're open to your questions. We're eager to to respond to your concerns or questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Vladi. That was a really thorough explanation, and it's for sure it had a lot of useful information in there. So, as Vladi said, let's make this yours. If you have any questions, feedback, or challenges related to what just Vladi said, or just specific or general stuff, please pop them into the chat or raise your hand to speak with us, and let's get started. And as a matter of fact, we all already have our first question from Clint. Hi there, by the way. We're looking into it. So you mentioned that you have the identity business verification approved, but Stir Shaken is inactive. As far as I know, the Stir Shaken is automatically enabled as soon as you do the business verification. But Andre from support is checking into it right now, so we'll get back to you as soon as possible. So in the meantime, if you have any other questions, guys, we're here for you.
We will also love to learn if you have any feedback about any other feature as well. It can be about anything else related to the product. So just let us know.
I will also take the time to let you guys know that I have added into the chat of our session here a couple of links that you can use to schedule meetings with the sales team. We are here to empower you guys with knowledge and assist you in understanding the core value proposition of smartphone and how to make the most out of it. So we're looking forward to having you on the sessions in case you have not had an introduction yet, or if you simply want to do a refresher to, let's say, refresh your knowledge. We're there for you, so take advantage of those links. Thank you.
Clint has just raised his hand. Valentina, could you please allow him to speak with us? Thank you.
Yeah, just a second. And we're gonna bring you in.
All right, Mr. Clint, you're here. You can open your microphone and discuss with us.
Yeah, I was just gonna so I don't have specific questions yet because I'm newly in charge of smartphone for my organization, and I haven't like done a lot of some of what I guess you'd call my own research yet. So I don't want to ask questions where the answer is maybe obvious once I look into it. But for teaching myself as much as possible is is those meetings you sent for booking. You mentioned salespeople, so I don't know if those are still the right people for me if I'm trying to book time to get a little deeper training, or if within the platform, I don't know if you guys have a YouTube channel, or in other words, what is the recommended path for me to learn what I can learn on my own and then start going to you guys for help?
Well, actually, the links I provided are a good opportunity to get acquainted with the system. We're experts on the features and functionality. We use it on a daily basis, and we are up to date with all the features and updates that it has. So you can definitely take advantage of those links and connect to one of us. We'll take the time to assist you in understanding the ways to maximize the value you get out of smartphone. And then we also have the documentation section, which we sent the article with compliance information from, so you can explore that area as well if you want to.
All right, thanks.
My pleasure.
Let's drop a link to the documentation website so Clint has it and
Right, we're
let
adding
me
them
see.
now. And you can use the search. It's really easy to find anything in there. Um, and just
There we go. The link to the documentation is in the chat. Thank you, Valentina.
I also saw that Elizabeth is with us as well. Elizabeth, do you have any questions for us? All right, sounds good. Andre, Cosmin, do you have any updates for Clint? Okay, so Cosmin just wrote on the chat, Clint, that it looks like there's a visual glitch on our end. So we're creating an internal ticket so that our engineers can fix that. And you have the stir shaken approved and active, but it's just not displaying there. So you should be good to go on that side. Do you have any other questions, Clint? Okay, well, in that case, we can keep this short and sweet. We can wrap up and give you back some time. I want to say big thanks to everyone who joined us live today, and thanks for spending time with us. We'll see you next week, and I wish you guys have a good day and take care. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good one.
Bye.
Bye-bye.